Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And let's make sure that this thing is on. E-Day in Nashville. Candace Owens has her big meeting with Erika Kirk. And there's 40,000 people waiting to watch this right now. It's itsSeanDaniel here. I have covered this a little bit, and I'm going to cover it a bit more now with this massive day. Candace is going live in 3 minutes, and we are going to hear exactly what happened between her and Erika with this talk. Let me find the tweet for you guys, actually, first. In case you haven't seen yet, let's check out and hear what Candace said after the meeting went down, excuse me. Here's her short.
4.5 hours later, I'm alive. I'm totally fine, and I'm sorry. I was going to do a show for you guys this evening, but I am truly exhausted. Very productive conversation. I asked every single question. I mean, from Egyptian planes to Turning Point USA Faith, and I was very surprised by some of the answers that I got, and I think they were also very surprised when I shared certain intel. This probably should have happened a very long time ago, but I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive, and I will have the full rundown for you guys tomorrow of what transpired. And yeah, I think it was definitely a very big step in the right direction. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. 4.5.
So she's super exhausted. Why is that? Let me know in the comments right now. Why do you guys think she was so exhausted? Hello from Tennessee. What's up, Summer? Peace by the gram. First one in here. Randy from California. What's up? Stuart. Just waiting to hear from Candace. Cook. Realize and find peace. We got less than 2 minutes left, you guys, till she starts. I don't think it was as calm and peaceful as everybody's saying online, as they tweeted out. Oh, it was a good, productive meeting. There have been shots fired between each of these people, Candace and Erika. And you cannot tell me that when they got there, that there was not animosity expressed. There was not shots. I'm sure they opened, cordially, but then I'm sure Erika started ripping, and I'm sure Candace started ripping as well. Now, how much are we going to actually hear from Candace on the realities of that part of the meeting? I don't think so. I don't think she's going to give us the juice to that degree on the emotion that went on back and forth. I think she's going to paint this a little nicer than it actually was, but get ready to watch it with me, you guys. I'm going to stop if I want to say something and add some extra context based on my experience working with Turning Point people, being around Candace backstage, working with Officer Tatum, being around Charlie. I'm going to give some insights into what I understand about these people from my experience from years ago, about how they really function behind the scenes, and how does that differ from what Candace is sharing with us. She's going to be posting anytime soon. It says, waiting for Candace right now. This is what we've all been waiting for. Let's go. Oh, man. I'm so excited. Come on, Candace. Do you guys think we're going to get the real truth about how this went down? Let me know in the comments. There's 77,000 people waiting right now to hear from Candace Owens. This is ridiculous. Hi from Georgia. Debbie says, yo. I'm waiting to see if Candace changes, says Summer. Wish I understood women better so I can understand what any of this had to do with Charlie's mission, says Russell. 84,000 people now waiting. It tells me how calculated and how well thought out they needed to be with their messages and their tweets about this meeting, because we took a long time to hear anything. Now, I'm going to refresh this because Candace has not started. 100,000 people waiting. 100,000 people are waiting right now to hear from Candace Owens. What is happening? This is insane. Donald says she'll give us her truth, her version of it, like everything else. So you just totally trust Erika and don't trust Candace at all, Donald? All the way from Northern California. Well, I'm coming to you guys from New Zealand, and I am waiting for Candace to go live. She said she was going from 11:30. Come on, Candace. Was this a fake out? Not to make it 11:30, but really make it noon. She always, usually I thought she goes live at, 11:30. Eastern time, it's 5:30 p.m. Oh, here we go. Let's go, you guys. Let's hope that I can get this audio to work. I have no audio right now, so I don't know if this is always how it goes. Is there always no audio from Candace? Hello, Peggy. Stuart, yeah, no worries. She's a fake out, says Serena. No, I just don't trust everything the way Candace tells us. Okay, understand. Cleveland, Ohio in the building. Okay. I'm going to test and... Oh, wait. Is she coming?
Okay, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
shalom to everybody back at home. Happy Hanukkah to our greatest friends and allies. And, this is a good time to mention that Israel does have a right to defend itself. Tucker Carlson is Adolf Hitler. And TikTok does need to be purchased by the Mossad. It's just how I'm feeling today. I am not different. Maybe you are different. Welcome back to Candace.
Can you guys hear her okay? Let me know in the comments. She's on it today. Get ready. Oh, she's on fire.
Okay, you guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely crazy. The amount of people who attacked me for sending out a tweet being like, hey, I'm good, I'm alive. We had a very productive conversation. And they were like, she got the call. She got the call. She's betrayed us. She's doing something else. I can't believe it. This has all just been a show. Calm down, okay? What do you think happened? Erika said, stop. And then I was frozen for 4 hours and 30 minutes, just like,
here she goes.
As I just put all of these talking points into my head. That is not what happened. I keep telling you guys, I am not governable. I am basically akin to Kanye West. I never felt more seen than when he tweeted a lot of years ago, just fired my manager because I realized I can't be managed. That is me. That tweet right there, I was like, oh gosh, yes, Kanye, that I get this. Okay. Nobody is changing their mind anything. How ridiculous would it have been if I'm doing all of this, investigating, asking all of these questions, and then Erika Kirk offers to answer some of these questions, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. I can't betray the people. I don't want any answers to the questions. I just want to ask them.
Good point.
No, this is the entire reason we are doing this. We've been looking at the situation going, why can't Turning Point USA just answer basic questions? And I can tell you guys that yesterday, for 4 hours and 30 minutes, there were no rules. They said you can ask us any question that you want, anything that's on your mind, which I appreciated. And some of you guys are thinking, who is they? Who is they? It's the Jews, obviously. Just kidding. It's Justin Strife. Justin Strife was in the room. It was just Justin Strife and Erika. George joined me just for the beginning portion of the conversation because he had that thing going on that I told you on the 15th all day. He was in a conference. And then I brought my cousin Mia, the one that has a really bad attitude. I just bring her there for vibes. I think it just confuses people. They're like, I don't understand what's this person doing here. And the reality is she's like always just listening to Cardi B music. But she's my cousin and I always have her around. And so that was it. She was kind of sitting a little bit away, but at the table it was really just the four of us until George left. And I will be honest, I did not know what to expect going into the room. I did not know if they were going to be open. I didn't know what Erika's energy was going to be like, if it was going to be more of an argument, if there was going to be legal threats. You guys were telling me not to drink water, so I didn't drink water. Well, I brought my own water, but I didn't drink that water too. There's a lot. There's a lot going on, okay? And the conversation started with Justin Strife very sensibly saying, what are we looking to accomplish here? Like, what is the actual aim of this conversation?
Let me know in the comments. Do you guys think that Erika came in fiery or no? And you think she was just nice and they were cordial and it was like stiff? Or do you think that someone came in fiery? Let me know.
And he was pretty clear, and Erika was very clear, that they were sort of most upset with what I, obviously a bit of a fever pitch, what I tweeted, that it was a godforsaken company and people should not give money to it. And I have to own that. That's aggressive. That is actually aggressive in the retrospect. I was very frustrated. And I don't know, I felt like we weren't getting any answers and there were so many lies. And then I was getting attacked for asking all meaningful questions that was within their capacity to answer. And I told you, I definitely, my problem in life is that I can rise to anger very quickly. I shared with them that I really felt like I was under attack for telling the truth from the very beginning, like casually, when I mentioned the Catholicism thing. Like, what was that about? I was like, look, I say something in a tribute to him. Alex Clark and Andrew Colvett then jump onto a podcast and they're doing that weird interview, which is clearly aimed at me. And they've teased the interview as like aimed at me, but they never say my name. And that to me felt like it was the first, I don't know, the first bit of mud that was slung. Which their answer for that was, hey, that was a really crazy time. A new system had to be put into place, and by no means did Erika give any person the authority to go out and say that the Catholicism thing was a lie. It kind of turned into this big thing. Whatever. Okay, that kind of obviously was not the meat of the reason that we wanted to sit down. I will say I was immediately refreshed by the fact that one of the first things that Erika did was she owned the lies, or rather, I guess they would cage it as miscommunications that were coming from various people at the company. Like, look, this is a company with 650 people that are employed. Everybody at this time is exceedingly emotional, and they are communicating, and no matter what somebody says on Twitter, they assume that this communication has come down from management, and that's not always a circumstance. But they owned right away, which felt great, that if you guys recall, Erika sat down with Glenn Beck. I actually missed this portion because I didn't get to watch the interview in its entirety, and we were pulling clips because a lot was coming out very quickly. But there was a portion that was going around that was viral, and it was Erika saying that she had Charlie's phone and that Charlie never texted anybody the night before saying that he thought that they were going to kill him. And that obviously reflected poorly on me, because I was the one who said that he did, in fact, text multiple people the night before. And then I went on Jimmy Dore on Friday, Jimmy Dore's show, and I clarified. I said, Andrew Colvett told me specifically that he was one of the people that received this text message. So I got that first person. I didn't get that from a source. I got that directly from Andrew Colvett. And then somebody who had access to Dan Flood's communications said that Dan Flood similarly received a text message. They owned that right away and explained. Erika said that she has Charlie's phone. She's looking at his iMessages, and it turns out that he, like everybody else, communicates on Signal. He communicates on Telegram, and that those when she heard me say that, they then went and looked, and yes, that what I said was true. Andrew Colvett received a message the night before, and
So according to Candace, Erika acknowledges that she didn't look through Signal, the other chat messaging app, but instead she previously was only looking at his iMessages. Which do you guys believe on that? Because you're telling me that Erika Kirk and her team and around her wouldn't go check other messaging apps that Charlie has besides just his iMessages? Or do you actually believe that she owned up to that in front of Candace and was like, oh, let me look. Oh, okay. Yeah, you were right. Because I do not see anytime soon Erika Kirk coming out and saying, yes, in this meeting, I realized I didn't check the Signal app where Charlie messaged Andrew Colvett. Oh, no. Because that would make Erika and just her with her claim she did on Glenn Beck not look good. But then again, I don't think Candace would make such a claim that Charlie was texting these people, or this other person told Andrew Colvett Andrew Colvett actually received a text from Charlie. I don't think Candace would make that claim unless Andrew Colvett had really told her that. So, if it's true that Erika acknowledged that in the meeting, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Dan Flood received a message the night before. Now, they asked me if I had actually like a concrete a copy of what Dan Flood got the night before, and I said no. Somebody told me what it said, which was almost exactly what Andrew said, which is they're going to kill me. Andrew did not know who they were, that he was referring to were, but they clarified that the message that Dan Flood received said the left is going to kill me. So I can't confirm that one way or the other. I have to trust them on that because I did not see that concrete message. I was told that it said they. Now, obviously, we discussed the moment, and I'm laughing here because you TikTokers are actually out of control. You guys are going to be the reason that Israel gets TikTok because you guys are acting a fool all the time. And the videos were so hilarious of you guys mocking the Bari Weiss interview. It's great. It's good to laugh at ourselves. And Bari Weiss is always worth laughing at.
Which that Bari Weiss interview right here was not an interview. It was just the interviewer, Bari Weiss, thinking she's charismatic, thinking she's got a lot to say, and her energy is so impressive that she wasn't being a journalist. She was coming up with statements about Candace and about Erika, which was a pro-Erika perspective. Now, she can have that, but that's not what you're supposed to do as an interviewer, and a journalist. Hey, what about this? What about this? Not, Candace Owens is a conspiracy theorist. What do you think about this? That was terrible.
But I was sort of like, hey, I felt name checked by the podcaster, Candace Owens, this obvious setup, and then asking me to stop. And it's interesting to hear Erika say that the reason she didn't ask me to stop in the beginning because she was actually learning things from the show. She was actually learning things, and that.
But is Erika Kirk ever going to come out and say this publicly to confirm it and to put things at bay from everyone who doesn't believe Candace like a lot of you guys? I don't think she's going to say that publicly. Maybe that's why they wanted a private meeting. We just wish this was all public for us to see what's really going on versus a private meeting, and then one person tells their version of the meeting, and then the other person, Erika's probably going to stay quiet and say minimal about the meeting because she doesn't want all this attention around it during AmFest, which is coming up, which is Turning Point's massive conference they have every year at the end of near Christmas time in Arizona. Used to be in Florida. It was called Student Action Summit. It was in West Palm Beach. Now it's in Arizona. She doesn't want all this hoopla and hooray and controversy and possibly negative crowd reactions and interactions at AmFest this year. So I think she's going to not really address it. But couldn't we just have this be public? So we don't have to have what he said, she said, they said?
I think she similarly felt that Bari Weiss was trying to create a moment. Obviously, it's who Bari Weiss is. It's the Zionist lobby. She's trying to right perceived wrongs because I'm against her side. That does not surprise me. That's kind of why Bari Weiss exists. That's the reason they put her at CBS, is because she's just committed to stacking the audience with people that are going to present the pro-Israel cause and talk about anti-Semitism and talk about like crime being on the rise. It's kind of an embarrassment, but I actually do accept that. And I should also clarify that Bari Weiss obviously picked those questions. They were not random, like I told you. It wasn't like people were coming to the mic and it was an open mic and they didn't know what they were going to get. It was all very much planned by Bari, but Erika said that she knew the general idea, like they were going to mention me and mentioned the conspiracies, but she was not given that specific, the podcaster Candace Owens question. So I think that's fair to clear that up. Now, I did not at all recant any of my suspicions, and I understand people disagree with me about particular people at Turning Point USA. I communicated what I communicated in front of the whole world. My skin crawled after I spoke to Terrell Farnsworth, the person who took the cameras down. He lied to me several times. I explained to them, which felt good to have that direct communication, how Terrell lied multiple times, and that I did not understand why he was there that day. They echoed what he said. They defended what he said, that they were trying something new that day, that they typically live stream, which is what Terrell said. They typically live stream, and I said every college event. Well, they said, well, yeah, they live stream the events that are tour stops, but they don't live stream like the outside prove me wrong type events. And that was something that was new, and it required Terrell. And I said, even if that was all real, if that was all true, I still didn't feel good about the conversation that I had with Terrell, and I can't ignore my gut about the many little lies that he told. I thought the video he recorded was weird. I know he comes from a very powerful family. I personally do not trust him. And I obviously do not like the fact that I said, Tyler Boyer lied about this thing and came up with an excuse and said, well, Terrell was asked to take the camera down. That's the reason, he said on Twitter, because the police wanted him to take it down and secure the footage. And I said, I know that's not true. And they said, well, after all of that, after he took the cameras down, there was a police officer or Fed, whoever it was, that spoke to him and asked him to secure the footage. Well, that makes sense, but it's not a reason for why he took it down immediately. It makes sense that as you're investigating, you're going to say, who's got the footage? Let's lock it down. But it didn't make sense to me that Tyler Boyer lied about it. And I don't trust Tyler Boyer. And that is never going to change. Similarly with Rob McCoy.
When you're in these situations and you're in these different events and you get around this space a lot, like in the political space, and you get enough exposure to people like Candace had working at Turning Point, whether or not we all agree, everybody in this space starts to build opinions on certain people based on how they are when they interact with them. Now, sometimes those opinions shared by these influencers like Candace come from a pretty egotistical perspective, because they're the star, they're the big influencer, they get all the attention, and they just have these opinions about people. I know, I've worked for them. And sometimes their perspective is not that great. But sometimes it is, because when you're around people long enough, you start to build an opinion on how they function, how they treat you, how they treat your staff, how they are when things come to money, when things come to attention and power. And Candace says she got a bad feeling. She doesn't like this one guy. She especially doesn't like Tyler Boyer, which I had nothing but fine experiences with Tyler Boyer. Being backstage, he knew my name. When I used to work for Officer Tatum, he actually knew who I was more than a lot of the other Turning Point people. So I never had an issue with him. But these opinions that Candace or these other people get, they have a lot more insight into who these people are than we do by one event we maybe went to where we saw the guy. But it doesn't mean that the opinion of someone like Candace or an influencer who shares their opinion is the proper perspective on that person, because a lot of times these influencers have massive egos. And what they think is so great and so impressive because everyone's always patting them on the back. So it's hard to know what is true, but these are some things to consider.
Makes my skin crawl. I can't explain it. This is lied about it, and I don't trust Tyler Boyer, and that is never going to change. Similarly with Rob McCoy. He makes my skin crawl. I can't explain it. I look at him and he's a bad person, and nobody can make me feel one way or the other about that. I was surprised to learn, and this kind of gets into, I guess, us not knowing the inner workings at Turning Point USA, that Rob McCoy actually does not work with Turning Point USA in any capacity whatsoever. And so him communicating as he has done, like, I'm the pastor, I'm this, I'm that, it's just not real. Like, that is not real. And we should know that that's not real. And when he says that, call him out on that separately from Turning Point USA. I was operating under the assumption that he worked for Turning Point USA. And I said, if obviously that's wrong, I'm happy to correct that. But also, what were we to assume when he hit the stage at the memorial and said, "I'm America's pastor," and then had the Wikipedia updated and said, well, I'm assuming he had it updated because who else would do that, that he started Turning Point USA Faith. So I guess, to be clear, we were just wrong about that. And I will have a lot more to say about Rob McCoy and where I believe he fits into a lot of things. So I'm not letting up on that. Now, one piece of this where I still don't understand it, and the magic bullet. Okay. Now, we all recall what happened. I casually say on the show, hey, I saw the footage. There was no blood. And honestly, when I said it, I didn't process how big of a deal that was with the 30-06. Very quickly, what happens is Andrew Colvett whips up this tweet about what happened with the bullet, and he said he wanted to address all of the discussion that was being had about the online chatter. I'm obviously paraphrasing here. He says, "I apologize. It's going to get graphic," but he spoke with the surgeon. The bullet should have gone through. The surgeon then explained that what he's typically seen on these wounds, and basically this was all a miracle. Charlie saved lives, even in death. And the internet clocked it, this miracle, the healthy bone. His bone was so healthy, and the density was so impressive. Like, this is a quote, by the way. His bone was so healthy. I want to read it. This is allegedly from a surgeon. Quote, "His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too." And we were just like, eek. That kind of was like the beginning of the WTF, right? I feel like that was kind of the beginning of it. And immediately people in the comments responded to Andrew, and he said, this individual said, "This post is so fake as it would violate HIPAA. Like, there's patient privacy. You can't just call up the surgeon." And then Andrew Colvett replies and says, "Rest assured, I would not have posted without full permission." Now, he said he spoke to the surgeon, and they confirmed that Andrew spoke to the surgeon, but that they did not know that he was going to write that tweet. They did not know that he called up the surgeon. So, like, it very much came across to be like Andrew was just flying by the seat of his pants. I don't know. Like, he was just.
Which of you guys, let me know in the comments right now. Put a yes or a no if you believe the magic bullet theory. Put a yes or a no. Because I do not. It just doesn't make sense. We've seen too many ballistic videos where the ballistic dummy or the water jugs or whatever that they're shooting at with this bullet just gets obliterated. And where is it? Come on, let me see the quote. And the idea that it was just a miracle that his bones stopped this bullet, that one's tough for me to believe. But again, it's all... but just based on so many ballistics videos that we've seen where this shot just obliterates the dummy or whatever they're using.
This is quite literally the PR guy who's calling the surgeon. And so that just seems,
It's also interesting to me which things Turning Point is willing to talk about and not willing to talk about. Because their big thing now with Candace and with everyone that's talking about and asking questions, or even, saying incorrect things, whatever, is that they don't want to taint the jury pool. But then at times, Turning Point is willing to have they're willing to put out private information like this to explain things to people. So that's what I don't understand as well. Sometimes we're willing to taint the jury pool, as they want to say, and then other times they're not. Like, which is it?
seems very inappropriate for a person to do, period. And I would say it was kind of the beginning, but that was what I got from that. Now, obviously, we discussed the security. I brought up Brian Harpole, this interview with Sean Ryan, and I think we can believe Turning Point when they say that they did not approve of this. They had no idea he was going on Sean Ryan. I think that's pretty clear. I don't believe he works there anymore. So that was kind of him just getting out.
What? Turning Point didn't know this guy was going on Sean Ryan? Listen to that
I don't believe
again.
he works there anymore. And I think I brought up Brian Harpole, this interview with Sean Ryan, and I think we can believe Turning Point when they say that they did not approve of this. They had no idea he was going on Sean Ryan. I think that's pretty clear. I don't believe he works there anymore. So that was kind of him just getting out there and perhaps trying to rescue his own reputation. And I think that only made his reputation worse, actually, because people rightfully sensed that he wasn't telling the truth in that interview, that he was being cagey, that he was saying things that didn't make any sense. Again, you constantly have these people that believe, like Brian Harpole, that with enough performance, he can sit down and you're just going to convince people that this is real. And this is just a different time. Like I said,
And the disappointing part about that interview he did with Sean Ryan is that Sean Ryan did not push back in the clips I've seen. Maybe he did in the full interview, because a lot of us don't watch these full interviews. It's just too long. He didn't push back on Brian Harpole when he brought up the bullet getting fragmented and then the magic bone theory, the magic bullet, the bone density theory. He didn't push back at all. And Sean Ryan has military experience. And a lot of military guys did ballistic tests and were like, Sean, really? That was surprising.
TikTokers are out of control. They will check you in 4 seconds, okay? Things that, the biggest piece of this that I want to communicate, and that I did communicate to them, and I hope that they took me seriously on this, or rather that they take my strong advice on this. I said, one of the reasons why I really want to sit down is because I want to walk out of here and feel confident saying to my audience, hey, like, there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. Like, that more will come out, but you can take it from me that this is what happened. I was looking to achieve that because there's been a lot of signaling from various people, some people who are experts, some people who have been involved in cases, that there's obviously going to be stuff that the public does not have access to. And so it is at least plausible that they have seen very clear footage that we've been asking for of Tyler Robinson getting up there and taking the shot. Like, they have access to UVU cameras. So I was hoping to hear that. And I said that I want to hear why people feel so confident at Turning Point USA that Tyler Robinson is the guy. And at this point, they elected to call the lawyer, like, their lawyer who is involved in this case, one of the lawyers that's involved in this case. There's always a team of lawyers, especially for something like this. And what I got from the lawyer did not make me feel that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. It did not make me feel confident that he didn't or did shoot Charlie Kirk. I was very surprised by this. He spoke a very long time. I asked, can you share with me what it is? And I said, when you share this with me, I will not say what that thing is. If we want to protect the integrity of the case, I'm not gonna. If you say we've got the footage of him taking a shot, I promise I won't say that to the audience, but I will communicate to them that you have something that is solid. And no, to the exact contrary, this guy effectively said, not effectively, he said that they have nothing but the affidavit. Okay, so what we have seen is what they have. What is being discussed publicly, this whole non-expert problem with you don't know. It's like what you read, his messages that don't have any dates on it, Tyler Robinson writing out everything and the clean alibi. That's what they have. And what he explained to me was that that's the affidavit stage. That's where it's at. And then what takes place now is the investigation is ongoing, right? So right now they're looking for more information. And once investigators, they could very well have, obviously, footage. And that is why they might feel that, we're definitely gonna get this prosecution. But the reality is they don't actually share that information with the victim. They don't share that information with Erika. They don't, in this part of the process, they will not know what investigators have discovered. This is what the lawyer told me, until May. Okay, they have not seen anything that you have not seen, is what I want you to know.
What?
So with that in mind, I'm sitting here going, why are you signaling? Why do I feel like the public's being gaslit on this? There's been nothing that's convincing. There are so many commentators who have gone out and said to you, it's overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The text messages that don't have a date, that don't even sound real, that's overwhelming. That to me.
What? You're telling me that the lawyer doesn't, according to Candace, doesn't even have some ace up their sleeve that they mentioned to Candace. Maybe they don't want to tell her because they don't trust her to not say it, which would make sense. Her whole thing is having a radio show. And why would they explain it to her right there in private? But you'd think if they wanted to calm down Candace's questioning of this, they would have at least hinted at something they have up their sleeve evidence-wise that is definitive and not explained it fully. But according to Candace, they didn't even do that. If that's the case, and they do not have a bunch of evidence, and they're relying on this affidavit and stuff, and all the evidence that everybody else is just looking into on our own, that's bad.
Have a date that don't even sound real, that's overwhelming. That to me feels really fake and gay. I really do want to say that to every commentator that is out there trying to tell the public and insisting that if you say it enough times it'll become real, you're actually just being dishonest. And I offered that a more honest way to communicate would be to say, we think he's involved. We feel strongly, I've said that, I think he's involved. We are very hopeful that throughout this investigation, we are going to get that concrete thing. And that's where we're at right now. That's just the stage that we are at. That is not what we are getting from them. That is like, I just feel like that's really important to let you guys know. Let the gaslighting stop. They have what you have, okay? There is nothing else. They are in an investigative stage. Erika has been named as the victim. They will know more in this May hearing, which is the probable cause hearing. That's what the lawyer told me. It's probable cause hearing. And that.
What a terrible justice system we have in America. There's going to be a probable cause hearing in May. Charlie was killed in September, 3 months ago. May, that's going to be 8 months since it happened. That's 5 months away from now. No wonder criminals are willing to commit crime. When you don't have fast and swift justice, you really encourage criminal activity. Because they're not going to face justice or some penalty or some ramification for a long time. They can buy time, they can get lawyers, they can come up with, oh, I need to do a mental evaluation to get out of this. What? What is the problem?
That's when they will see the evidence. That's when they get to this hearing. That's what the lawyer told me. It's
May.
More in this May hearing, which is the probable cause hearing. That's what the lawyer told me. It's probable cause hearing. And that's when they will see the evidence. That's when they get to present the evidence, why they are going to stand there before a judge and be like, yes, we need to move this forward. It's not just an affidavit. We're not pulling together scraps. We have concrete evidence. Until then, okay, until we all get on the same page and understand what else they have, I am very confident stating the opposite of all of my, I guess, well-paid peers in that I don't believe that Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger. And what I also said to them was, and I said this in front of the lawyer because I don't know why I'm like this. I was like, you might need a new lawyer. I was like, because this person's trying to sell to you that this is solid. One of the rules that me and my husband have is that if you have a lawyer that tells you like you're 100% going to win, it's very clear that you're going to win, you need a new lawyer. Okay, that's a cheerleader. That's not a lawyer. A lawyer, even if you should 100% win, should be telling you the risks here. You know, I feel good about this case. Like, let me talk real to you. I feel good about this case, but here's where things could go wrong. I want you to understand those risks that are involved. We don't have this yet. We don't have that yet. And especially given what I told them, which is your lawyers, or the investigators rather, not their lawyers, because they're not the ones investigating. It's the state of Utah that's investigating. They have not called the one solitary person, as I told you guys, who filmed as he was on the roof. Remember the guy that's like, oh, there's somebody on the roof, and he sees him crouched down. I said, I spoke to that person, and his testimony would be devastating to your prosecution. He did not, he saw the person on the roof. He filmed the person on the roof at 12:23 p.m. and he did not see that person take the shot. And this is not some random student. This is a guy who trains people to shoot guns at a range. He knows guns, okay? He said what he saw was a smaller gun. He said that this person was dressed in black tactical gear and there was no recoil. That's devastating. That would be devastating to the prosecution. And yet, investigators haven't reached out. Now, they offered back, well, maybe they haven't reached out because they have an even clearer video. And that's true. That's actually a good rebuttal. They're like, we don't even have to talk to this guy because the video will speak for itself, and we saw what we saw. Okay, but wouldn't you still want to speak to the other guy so you could prepare? I don't know, to question him something. I don't like that this investigation is going on, and I feel as though I spoke to more people than they have. Both of the people who filmed videos that day told me that they weren't reached out to. So I don't understand.
That's insane. Why wouldn't they reach out to? But then again, we have Kash Patel, the FBI, doing podcast episodes with Stephen Miller's wife to try to show us why his young girlfriend, is not a Jewish honeypot. So I don't understand what's going on with these things. But we have some comments in here. Some of you guys. Tammy says she's gaslighting us on this one. The defense said they are more time because of all the evidence. Yeah, but we do have a pattern in the United States of the justice system taking forever, right? Mariska says, why is she exhausted as she didn't travel anywhere? Well, Mariska, when you have a high-pressure situation, high-pressure meeting, even if you do or don't travel, which Erika traveled with a private plane, allegedly, by the way, that's pretty simple to do. It's still exhausting to travel, but when you have a pressure interview, something that affects the world, there's pressure coming at her from every angle in the politics. Even if you guys don't think she's right, it's exhausting when you have to confront something so seriously. There's a lawyer on the phone. Erika Kirk's coming with serious energy. That's exhausting. Why are you all making Candace famous? She's relevant. I mean, she's doing a thorough job. She's investigating this, and even if you guys don't agree with her, she's not willing to back down when everyone on the right is pressuring her and telling her she's wrong, she's a conspiracy theorist, she's evil. And I can tell you guys from experience, but you can use your own awareness as well, that other political influencers or speakers will cave to a lot less pressure than what Candace is facing. Even if you think she's too wrong, she's out of it, she's gone too far, she has not budged. And she doesn't have a reason to budge. Okay, her show gets a lot of viewership, but she's losing access. She's losing friendships. She's losing other sponsors and donors. She's losing possible future positions because she's going against the mainstream thing. And a lot of the other influencers that we have watched, I'm not going to name names, but you can think of some, they will cave to a lot less pressure than what Candace is facing right now. And even if she is not fully right in her convictions and what she's investigated, or she's going about it the wrong way, you might think, this is exhausting to deal with, as it's exhausting for Erika to deal with as well. Even if you guys agree with her or don't agree with Erika, it's got to be exhausting. The pressure of what you're going to say, every interview, it's going to be fully dissected, just like everything Candace says. Tons of pressure going on right now. And I hope you guys are made aware of that and don't just, rough it off as like, oh my God, how could you have any pressure? And Joshua Tift, she did budge first. She said it was Israel, then CIA, then American government. I'm sick of Candace trying to make money off of Charlie Kirk's death. That argument is not fair to attribute that only to Candace if you don't then attribute it to everyone else who's making content around Charlie Kirk and around Candace and around Erika. Because everybody's doing it. Me, and then everyone who's big and actually important is doing it as well. So for them to criticize Candace for doing that is just not, it doesn't make sense. If Candace is the only one doing it, then it makes sense. But just because Candace is the one doing it that's getting a lot of more views than everyone else, maybe that's why they target her. Dave says, silly that you have the BS. Wow, peace. Okay. I'm just bringing up points for you guys to consider.
What's happening here? I don't understand the confidence, I guess, is the best way to say this. I told him I do not understand the confidence that is happening. Now, another really big thing.
Hold up. Big question from Josh. My main man, Josh. Do we know if Candace found out from Erika why Erika contradicted key members of TPUSA, including Andrew Colvett and Frank Turek, on whether Charlie Kirk texted the day before that he feared for his life? According to Candace, in the meeting, she said that she brought to the attention of Erika that, hey, Charlie may have sent this message not just on iMessage, which is apparently what Erika was only looking for about those text messages, and instead Candace instructed her to check Signal, another app, and then apparently in this meeting, it was like, oh, there's the messages. That's the answer we got earlier.
Thing that happened was they brought me Mikey's call logs, okay? They brought me Mikey's call logs, and that is why I said this was a productive meeting. There is no other way to say it. I asked every question, and they came with paperwork to show and to answer and to explain certain things. Also, which was, I thought, actually kind of sweet, that I guess I did on the previous show. I was like kind of looking at things into Mikey, and I couldn't find him. And someone said, I think Mikey's not his like real name. Like they thought it was his middle name, actually. And I just assumed, okay, well, maybe he's using his middle name, and that's why I can't find him. But Mikey really wants you guys to know that is his real name, and it is his real name. I found out shortly thereafter that they were confusing his middle name with, they thought it was switched. That Michael is his real name, just to clarify that, because I realized I actually didn't go back and clarify that. But Mikey's call logs, big piece of this, okay? I'm going to, I guess, jog your memory on what Blake said about Mikey that day, and then I'll tell you what actually happened, because I don't think Blake has that great of a memory, okay? Take a listen.
So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realize there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before. And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erika. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erika. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. Your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erika. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy. And he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him.
Okay, so that's just not right. And so when he says, I might be imagining this, I'll never forget, followed by I might be imagining this, probably means that maybe you forgot and like you really could be imagining. Now, for me personally, I think the normal physiological response in these high adrenaline situations for most people is you lock in. They're literally your body, when it goes through something, when it's terrified and it's going through like sort of like you are really paying attention to details. We've learned about this many times over in health class growing up. This is why they talk about that fight or flight response, and quite literally there's stuff happening to your body. And so there's a lot of details here that are just not accurate. And the one that surprised me the most about these call logs is I certainly feel that we were given the impression over and over and over again that the first person Mikey called was Erika, right? He called Erika. We were told this by many people also that he trained, like he almost like went to a camp and trained, and Charlie was like, 1, 2, 3, go, and like fast, 1, 2, 3, go, go, go. That's why he walked away. 1, 2, 3, go, and just told him, this is what the first thing you do is. Well, he didn't do that. Actually, the first person he called was his wife. He called Elizabeth McCoy. And then he stayed on the phone with his wife for 10 minutes. And during those 10 minutes, he three-wayed Erika 3 minutes after the shot went off. And then he three-ways his father. And then he three-ways a third person who I am not interested in mentioning because it's not relevant. This is Danny McCoy, by the way, is his brother that's in the military. But that's before the shot goes off. Charlie Kirk shot goes off. You know, I have that in detail. Charlie's brought to security. Mikey McCoy calls his wife. They will stay on the phone for 10 minutes. Okay. In that same minute, because we know this, because Blake Neff has given us his call log to his mother.
Whoa.
Blake Neff called his mom.
Whoa.
His call with his mother lasted 45 seconds. So we're assuming.
Mind you, if any of you guys are mad that this is not true, it's not honest, Turning Point at any point can come out and say, hey, these are false call logs. She said she got these from the Turning Point staff because they sent it to her because there was so much pressure being put on Turning Point. Now, if it's not true, which I know some of you guys will think, Turning Point can just refute it, no? But they haven't. Look at this.
Assuming it went to 12. Blake Neff called his mom. His call with his mother lasted 45 seconds. So we're assuming it went to 12:25. It very well could have stayed in 12:24, depending on the millisecond. Blake Neff ends that phone call with his mother. Mikey McCoy, after the phone call with his mother ends, adds Erika to the phone. Okay, so that when he was recapping and he's like, oh, his lips quivering and he's like, I got to call Erika. And he's like, and then I called my mom. That's not right. That's just not right. Okay, Mikey called Erika after Blake Neff ended that phone call with his mother. If call logs are to be believed above, human testimony. Mikey McCoy then drops Erika from the phone call 2 minutes later, and then he adds his father to the phone call. Again, he is this entire time on the phone with his wife, okay? And then Mikey McCoy ends his phone call with his father. He does call another person who I'm not mentioning because it's just not relevant to anything, not a character in this story, rather. And then he ends the phone call with his wife, and a minute later, his brother calls him back, and they stay on the phone for 10 minutes. I did not get this from everybody speaking about this Mikey McCoy call log. I know that you guys did not get this. I did not get this. I don't know why she was disappeared from this. Like, you could go, look, the wife wants privacy. No, she was like, main stage at the memorial, has been, I would say very involved in a lot of this kind of, I think it's very close that she's close with Erika. They went on the vacation together. So I don't get this disappearing act. I found that to be like, okay, but they were forthcoming with it. That feels good. That feels good, guys. Like, wow, we don't have to guess. Now we have solid answers.
So Turning Point really sent her those call logs. Why would they do that? According to Candace, I realize with some people, you have to say, oh, well, allegedly. Okay. According to Candace, she has the call logs. If it's not true, Turning Point can just come out and refute it. No? Be like, hey, that's not true. Why haven't they done that? Why would they have given her the call logs? Well, because there's so much public pressure on all the stuff that people are investigating, Candace included. And Turning Point's not giving a lot of info. They're picking and choosing what info and then telling people, oh, you can or can't put out this info. You can't dig into this because you're tainting the jury pool. There was a lot of pressure. I imagine that's why they had to give her these call logs when she was asking for them. That's why. Some of you guys were asking that. No Ignorance 21 says, these guys are bots. No, literally, give me some tangible, no bot responses. I am asking for some of you guys in the comments, some issue you have with Candace or issue you have with Erika, state it. Not just like, oh, she's a wicked devil woman. Okay, well, explain on both ways. You could share your perceptions and your awareness on a situation. Like, I don't have the greatest feeling about the way Erika's handled these things. Too attacking, too calculated with her eye movements. Don't like it. And then dismissive, and then giving answers but not giving answers. So you guys can have perceptions and awareness, on what you think is going on, but explain, not just, oh, this person's bad. Explain it.
And like I said, when you come out and give solid answers and you're not weird and calling people names and saying all this stuff, it allows people to go, okay, I feel a bit more like we can trust this process because we have communication. That's the reality. And so I wanted to update you with that. Also, another thing that really, I think, surprised them and I think surprised me is getting back to this Hamptons retreat. The thing about the Hamptons retreat, and I communicated this with them, that makes me so uncomfortable is how many little lies were told. I think I've been clear about that. Like Seth Dillon definitively pressed Charlie at this event. Now, whether it was in a hypothetical, which it was in a hypothetical, but he got fired up in the hypothetical of Charlie discussing potentially tweeting something against Bibi Netanyahu, it did lead to this firecracker moment. Again, this is one of those things where I go, why am I always being held out to dry, like hung out to dry for telling people the truth? Especially when I wasn't going, oh, well, Seth Dillon killed Charlie Kirk. I just, like, this happened. It factually happened. And yet everybody's kind of putting out these weird statements and they're not being honest in them. And I was saying to them, that made me feel really weird. And I would love to know more and about this Bibi Netanyahu offer to fund Turning Point to the next level. At which point, Erika said she was not aware of that happening. It is obviously totally possible that that was kept in the business lane of Turning Point USA. But I'm certain, I said, I am absolutely certain that I did not get this from an obscure source that Bibi offered to fund Turning Point to the next level. And it was part of my frustration with that sit down with Alex Clark, where Andrew said, oh, there was not $150 million that's made up. You know, I told them, Andrew Kovac was my source. Andrew Kovac told me verbatim that Bibi Netanyahu offered to take Turning Point to the next level and that Charlie turned that money down. So I said there's a bit of a predicament when I'm being like lambasted by all of these voices and people that are attacking me and these paid campaigns. And when I say paid, yes, okay, actually have the names of people. Different ways they're being paid. Some are being paid by PR firms. Too many are being paid by Prager University, which is upsetting to me because I know Marissa and it's just dirty. But it's especially crazy when people are calling it a conspiracy when I share.
This is true, by the way. Even little old Sean right here, not getting invited to events, not getting asked to be on podcasts, even little old Sean has gotten offered before, actually kind of quite recently, hey, will you cover this type of video for us? And we'll pay you each time you cover this type of video. Basically, from this angle, from this specific angle, we want you to cover this video. Even me, I get offered to do that. I've gotten offered only once to do that. So these bigger people that she's talking about, I totally believe there has been a paid campaign for everyone to come out in unison and talk about certain things. It happens. I've heard about it. You guys have heard about it. People talking about the $7,000 post. If you don't believe Candace, you guys, don't. But even I have gotten offered this on a smaller scale. Hey, we want you to cover certain videos talking about this topic, which basically paints something else in a certain bad light. So I bet you, Prager, you, other people, I bet you there's some campaign going on like that because Candace has gotten so much attention. Now you can say maybe they're paying for the right perspective to be portrayed, but either way, they're paying for it. Those people are not doing it out of the goodness of their heart or maybe because they think it's the right thing to do. Fully. That happens.
It's especially crazy when people are calling it a conspiracy when I share things that are told to me from the spokesperson of Turning Point USA. Okay? That's weird. And yes, they were forthcoming. Nobody's ever denied this, so this was not on our list of lies about the fact that Bibi Netanyahu did call him. Okay? That did happen. Bibi shared that, by the way. Our source for that could have just as well been Bibi Netanyahu. and not a lot of clarity on, I don't know, why some people think he didn't make this offer, and why definitively 3 different sources who would have knowledge of this confirmed to me that Bibi Netanyahu did indeed make this offer. I never said $150 million ever, not once on the show. I wouldn't have even said that, by the way. If you said take Turning Point to the next level, I actually would have assumed it was more, if I'm being honest. That's a hefty offer, and it leads to a lot of questions. So there was not a lot of clarity there. Lastly, I want to add, of course, I was locked in this meeting when people on live were another round of debunking the Egyptian planes. I want to be very clear. We discussed the Egyptian planes, and I have since worked on an incredible document about the Egyptian planes, which we are going to put up on our website, because I realized that when we shared that spreadsheet, people assumed that one of the columns, which was actually saying where the planes landed on that day, because it was plus or minus 3 days, was exactly where Erika had been on that day, and that was inaccurate. And so for clarity, I had been working on the last week on turning it into an interactive timeline that we can put up on our website, because I'm certain that these Egyptian planes are incredibly shady, and that they were in fact tracking Turning Point USA faith broader events. Of course, Erika was at some of them, Charlie was at some of them, but it is the pattern here is undeniable. So let the naysayers and people make videos trying to, 5th round debunk these planes. I also want to say to you that I feel very confident that I know why these planes have caused such panic. And it is because there is overwhelming evidence that these planes regularly fly in and out of Israel. And I'm going to present that evidence tomorrow. I say that strongly. This is I feel very confident saying these Egyptian planes are flying in and out. And notice I'm saying planes, because once I was able to connect people that were on those planes onto other Egyptian planes, I was able to realize that these planes are flying in and out of Israel and turning their transponder off each time that they do it. That is now makes perfect sense of why there was this mass panic, right? It's not exactly like we have a strong Egyptian lobby in the United States. Not like we're like, whoa, well, those darn Egyptians again are trying to get TikTok censored. I mean, every person in the game, Barry, acting. Well, these are the usual suspects that act if something is a threat to Israel, okay? Which is, they should have just been forthcoming, pretended that it was changing apart. Instead, they're trying to gaslight us, and they're actually, frankly, just pissing me off. So I became locked in on these Egyptian planes, because that's how I am, okay? You keep pushing me and keep pushing me, I will become an expert on these planes. I'll learn how to build an Egyptian plane. And the reality is, like I said, tomorrow I will show you how these planes tie back to Israel. And there's no disproving this. So more on that later. We'll be right back after throwing into some of our sponsors. All right, you guys, when they...
All right. No sponsor read there, Candace. I'm sorry. We're gonna move it along. We got some fiery responses from you guys in the comments. Candace got a sponsor for Rumble. That means Candace got a Rumble contract. Let me check that out really quickly. There's no way she's doing that one for free. Everybody goes to Rumble on a big contract, by the way. Even your favorite people, you'd be like, oh, Candace got a contract for Rumble. What a sellout. Everybody's on there. Okay? But it's interesting that she is now. Let's see how many views she's got right now. She's starting to get it up there. 17,000 people live watching her on Rumble. On YouTube, it's going crazy. But it's interesting to see how there's... Let me read some comments before we keep going with what Candace has to say. Oh my God. Some of you guys are just so mad at Candace. Like, you guys don't even... you guys don't want to hear a word she's got to say, which is funny because you're on here watching her speak just so you can get mad, I guess? I don't know what it is about... We love to get triggered and mad about things in the world today. Josh says, that would be interesting to hear the conversation between Candace discuss the Egyptian planes. Erika laughed that off as ridiculous in that interview. Just as she laughed off the idea that Charlie was texting people days before he got killed about possibly getting killed. She laughed that one off, and apparently, according to this meeting, she now has accepted that as truth. But the problem is, this is the problem. It's all going to be hearsay. It's going to be what Candace reports about the meeting, and I bet you Erika's not going to talk about the meeting. She's going to briefly discuss it. She has her appearance at AmFest coming up soon, America Fest in Scottsdale in Arizona, the big Turning Point event. And she's just going to not really address it that much because it would create too much controversy. So all we have to go on is what Candace says, which I think is a dumb position. If Turning Point wants to win this press battle, it's the dumbest position to take. If Candace is going to be talking about so many things like this, and you're just going to stay silent or say a few politically correct words, it's dumb. You can't combat what she's saying. You can't create your own story. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want there to not be confirmation of what Candace is saying, so that they always have the public persona of, well, you know, that's not, maybe not necessarily true. Maybe that's why. Let's get back to Candace.
The description below, download the app. And almost, I just got a live update that I thought it was Danny McCoy on the call log. I should totally correct that, and I will correct that, and we'll be sure to trim it in post here. But it is not Danny McCoy. It is Danny, another one of Charlie's assistants. So I will correct that. Please correct that if you're going to make videos. Not Danny McCoy that called him and then called him after. That is another assistant of Charlie's. So we want to be accurate. I don't know why I assumed it was Danny McCoy in my head. I may have done that. Okay, another thing. You guys may have been noticing that we are getting into this weird space where they seem to be almost writing like Candace Owens fan fiction. I can't even reply to things, and a lot of you sense that this was because we were getting close. I agree. I fully agree that these attacks, which have grown hysterical, like I can't even begin to tell you the conversations between me and my PR person. I'm like, there's nothing to respond to. I mean, there's not even one sentence of this that is true. Case in point, by the way, New York Post does this article today. We were actually laughing, okay? Like, inside Candace Owens' sadistic and dangerous world, monetizing baseless conspiracies. This is after, by the way, they changed my husband's Wikipedia and said that he was a Qatari, like he had a Qatari passport or citizenship. I don't think my husband's ever even flown over Qatar. I could be wrong, but I don't think I know he's never been to Qatar. I don't think he's ever flown over Qatar. And they're just making it up, and then they make it trend no matter what it is. And I'm like, this is happening. It's like a psychological operation because they're trying to keep us constantly responding as opposed to focusing on our investigation, which is why I spent this weekend and I just kept down on the Egyptian plains because it's completely crazy. And when you see a media storm like this, it can only be happening because Zionists are locking arms and going attack because they by and large control the media. They just do. Okay, one way or the other, Zionists control the empire medias, and they are scared about something in this investigation. We've noticed that from the very beginning. So they wrote in this article, the New York Post, just to give you an example of how insane this is, they said they had an inside source that told them that while I was at the Daily Wire, I just fought with people from the very source that in my first week, I threw my car keys at a producer and expected them to park my car. That sentence genuinely made me laugh so hard because I never once in the entire time that I worked for the Daily Wire did I ever drive my car to work. Okay, I just didn't. They had a driver that took me there. So I don't know why I would suddenly take the driver's keys and then throw it at somebody, but quite literally, I never drove to the Daily Wire. So it's just when I say fan fiction, I'm like, this is fan fiction. Secondly, they say I did that to a producer and that I conducted, demanded others do my research. Could not be further from the truth. I have always done my own shows. I can't read a script. I riff my shows. I think that's pretty obvious. That I demanded a huge studio, attempted to use their PR firm to get the cover of People magazine, like full fan fiction. There's not even a shred. I don't even think we ever had a conversation about People magazine because that would not be a normal outlet for any conservatives. That I wanted to be on the cover of People is insane. And they said that their sources also said that, like, my team hated me. My team came with me when I got fired. My whole team's here. So I was just going, okay, what is happening here? Why are we talking about Qatar? Why are they making these things up? And I have come to the same conclusion as you. It is because we are dangerously close to something. I think we have to keep pushing on the Huachuca Air Base, which we are doing. And tomorrow we are going to get back into the investigation. We're just going to ignore the noise because, as I have said and as I have maintained, I believe that Charlie was betrayed by people that are close to him. And I asked that question in the meeting. I'm like, okay, if we can agree that everyone around, I was like, I know there are people at Turning Point, they're not good people, right? And it's feasible that people, if they have addictions, that they, you can definitively get yourself in a scenario where you are willing to sell somebody out. This is a massive organization. How can we so confidently state that nobody had anything to do with anything here? And I think that one of the things that Erika was like, well, I'm not like a feminist, and I didn't want the vibe of that, which I think it did come across like a bit of a feminist, to say like, this is all my family. I'm like, how could this all be your family? I know people in this family and they're not good people. I wouldn't even do that with my own family. Okay. I got people in my family, like we all do, who aren't exactly walking a straight arrow in life. And yeah, so I've communicated that. I have not changed my position on that. I am not going to stop researching the characters in this that I don't feel good about. But further to sort of them just creating and making things up, Tim Pool has now gone out and extraordinarily claimed that I have the same security as Charlie Kirk, and that I'm a fraud, and that actually I have the exact same security. You will recall that Tim just said a week ago that I have no security. Okay, this is Tim Pool a week ago.
She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you told me? She has no security. She doesn't deal with the we have to deal with. She's a piece of
She has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier in a suburban neighborhood with neighbors. She doesn't give two No one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a about her security.
So that was like Tim last Monday. This is Tim who said I had no security except for one fat guy, which I told you was not true. Now he's saying this. Take a listen.
Okay, I'll say things that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say, 'cause I always get super heated on this. Candace Owens has the same security team as Turning Point and Charlie Kirk did. She's lying. She has the same security people. I've been digging into this. I've been meeting with people and talking with them, and I shouldn't say too much because there's more that's going to be coming out soon, because rest assured, people are filing legal paperwork against her. Candace has the same security team, or has used the same security companies and the same security personnel as Charlie and Erika did. So when she comes out and is questioning them, she is lying outright. Now, I've invited many of these people to come on. We'll see what happens. We'll see when they can. The issue is, the moment Candace goes on her show to millions of people and lies, litigation begins. And what happens when litigation begins? People don't do interviews about it. She is exploiting this, and she knows she is, to keep people wrapped up in this insanity.
Tim versus Tim, undefeated. And what I will also say is that's all a lie. It's almost like they have just sent a call, like they're getting too close, and just said, I don't care what you write. I don't care if it's complete fiction. Make it believable. Say her husband beats her. Say her, like it's coming after my husband. They're coming after me, and they're making stuff up. I have never employed the same security team as Charlie Kirk, ever.
And seeing the way that Tim Pool has flipped out on Candace, I think some of that has to do with maybe some jealousy because of how well her show is doing. We know these people care about money. We know these people care about being popular. I know that just by being around them. It can become their whole world. I even see how paying attention to the views can dominate my thinking. It's a little different level when you're at like Candace's level, when it's your income here and it's what you're living off of. It's different than Candace and all these other huge people that are super established. They could relax a little bit about the views and popularity, but they almost get more absorbed into it than someone like myself or some of these smaller people. So for Tim, it seems like a lot of his frustration is just how popular she's gotten, and he's pissed. He's pissed at the way she's going about it. We don't know the particulars. You know, maybe he's really pissed and believes she's violated some principle, but the way he gets so frustrated at her and then changes his story makes me think he's really just jealous and irritated. I'm going to read a few comments and end off this stream, get to making some videos. Adios, everybody. Life's entirely too short to worry about this. I'm licking her fingers to see if this is AI. But you go ahead and give constructive criticism to a liar and see where that gets you. Deanne, you're just like fully against Candace. That's pretty clear. We've made some good points today. And I hope that you guys can be aware and open enough to receive some good points from just the whole investigation and public information that's coming out, depending on whose side it's on. Just be open to hearing it and not be so glued into hyper defending one person, whether it's a politician, whether it's an influencer, a live streamer, a podcaster. We can't make these people into idols or people that we worship and that they are the God and whatever they say is gospel. We can't do that. It's too dangerous, and then you just get manipulated and turned in every direction because this one person said it. We got to be careful with that. It's Sean Daniel here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and appreciate it.